Nick, here, we're rolling. All that bit of footage before, you're already throwing in one-liners and all sorts of stuff. So, Nick, you might not know this, but I've been trying to get this chat for a long, long time. I have been, yeah, mate. It's funny, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all or anything. I know how busy you are, and that's the way life is and media is and things at the moment. But what you do these days is so entertaining, and the media stuff that we'll get into off the grid, the Rogue Gentlemen's Club. We'll cover it all. But mate, it's great to have you on. I'm a former, never made it pro, never made it to the great height of Scottish rugby, but watched you from afar. Big fan of when you were playing and to what you're up to just now. So yeah, welcome to the Get After It podcast. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
Mate, bloody good. Thanks for having me. I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. But yeah.
Nick, take us back. I want to go back into rugby, the early days. I know you're one of 8 children in a big family. What was life growing up, and where did you grow up?
Yeah, mate. Well, I just missed out on the medal. I came 4th, and yeah, like in a big family, mate. It's fun in a lot of ways. It's challenging in a lot of ways. You learn a truckload, from I suppose how to fight, especially when you've got there's 5 boys, 3 girls. So to have that many blokes charging around, it's going to be a bit of competition for the lollies in the jar or the whatever it is, any sort of tucker you're running. But mate, yeah, it was good to have pretty much a footy team in the backyard every afternoon. We could play some touch footy and learn the skills. But mate, yeah, it was a good learning curve. You got a couple of black eyes, and I think I'll take my brothers for that.
Yeah. And was rugby always on the radar from early days, or were you in other sports?
At school, I'd just love to have a go at everything. But I think my old man played rugby, and my brothers did. So it was kind of one of those. It's the physical aspect to it is what made me want to be part of it. I think it's really, really important for a young man to get a flogging every now and then also to dish a couple.
It's something that doesn't happen as much these days, isn't it? How do you take the game these days? And I don't want to say it's getting soft, but we're having to be a bit more careful about anything around the head. In your day, I mean, there was folks flying into rucks. There was all sorts going on. How do you compare? Do you think you'd be all right playing in the modern game?
Oh, well, mate, I don't think I'd be as interested, to be honest. I mean, there's a couple of calls that happen these days where you just go, are you kidding? Oh, that's ridiculous. But in saying that, I get what they're on about. They don't want people getting older, getting a bit long in the tooth, then all of a sudden having a bunch of dramas upstairs. So I get what they're saying, but far out, you got to live too. It's important to cop a flogging every now and then.
Yeah, and that obviously part of your upbringing. And were you good at school? Were you academic? What was going on off the rugby pitch and off the athletics track?
I was good at lunchtime. Run around the oval, playing a bit of footy. We used to get in trouble when we played tackle. So, obviously we'd try it whenever we could. But then the rules were that we sort of developed that as soon as the bell goes, where you have to go to class, then that's when you got about 2 minutes left of tackle footy. It's go for goals. Because we know that the teachers, they've got to get to class. So they're not hanging around to bust you. So you can just go flat out and belt each other for a couple of minutes before you get in trouble. So yeah, mate, that was my strong point. I wouldn't say that I was overly interested in the academics of it all, but yeah, I think anything I was interested in, I actually went pretty well at. But that was very few and far between.
And then, as rugby progressed, when did you see rugby turning into a career? When did it sort of show signs of, wait, this might be something I can really get stuck into?
Yeah, mate. Well, I think. Well, I was actually up in my older brother lived in Bundaberg. It's about 5 hours north of Brisbane, and he had his grand final on, and I thought, I got this call. Actually, we got the call at home. So Dad, my other brother Nathan, and myself, and we all jumped on the bloody steel chicken and flew up there. landed in there at Bundy Airport and going to the game for the grand final. My brother was like, boys, we need some cattle. We're running short. Then I went under, my name was David. Oh, this is actually quite a funny story. So we're sitting on the pitch and the match official comes out with a bit of paper and he's like, okay, and he's ticking off people that have been playing the whole season, so you're eligible to play the grand final. And it's country rugby. People come in from the woodwork, you know how it is. And we're ticking them off, and I'm sitting there and they go, now, David Gaylord. David Gaylord. And I'm just like, oh, it's true. I didn't know. And then my brother looks over at me and goes, and I was like, oh, Ruth. And I was like, really slowly, just like, yo, hand up. But I mean, he got me a good one, the bastard. Yeah, mate, got up there and played some footy. We won the grand final, and then that's really how we got in the buddy thing. And a scout was up there, and he hooked us up. So he flew me down to Sydney to play for Randwick, the Galloping Green. So that's basically how the whole thing began.
It is from your sort of. We'll get into your media interviews and the way you tell stories, but is that something you learned? Just the way that you can come up with one-liners, the like your brother playing pranks on you and things like that. Was that always happening throughout your youth and with the family?
Mate, absolutely, yeah. So around the dinner table, like the standard talk, you know, is always. It's always quite fun. Well, I thought it was normal. And so then I just, like a sponge, I download all that. I go to bloody school and then people call me these bloody country bumpkin and farm boy and all this bloody stuff. And I'm just bloody, I thought that was normal chat. And then all of a sudden everyone's up me for it. But yeah, mate, like I think my old man he ran a couple of landscaping building businesses. And up at the shed on a Friday arvo, he'd put a carton of beers on for the boys. And then they're all sitting there telling stories, and I was just a young bloke going, "Oh, how good is this? Like, this is proper." One of them was a shearer, one of them was bloody this and that, all tradies, old school. And mate, yeah, they've got some belter stories, and that's where the vernacular really came from. It's Australian culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to the rugby. I mean, you broke into the seven circuit, is that right? Top try scorer in the season and all sorts of things. So pace something that was the one thing you worked on? Pace, power. And getting onto the wing, what was the sort of progression through the sevens like for you?
Oh, mate, for the sevens, yeah, it was my sort of way into the professional outfit. So Randwick was more your club footy, and then there was an opportunity that popped up when I was training my balls off for bloody months and months and months, and I had a trainer. Actually, my boss, when I was down there, I was working for the same bloke who was the trainer for for our club team, and his name's Carl McDonald, and I'm forever indebted to him for putting me through the training he did, because that got me ready for the trials that came up with this seven selection. And mate, it was tough. It's a lot hard, a lot more. It's mentally a lot more difficult, actually, all that sort of training than it is 15, but. Obviously the 15s is more the prestigious one, as they say, but mate, not these days. It's in the Olympics. So yeah, I got in there and went round the circuit, mate. Did every one of the stops on that year, and yeah, got top try scorer for Aussie, and I was the youngest there for the whole thing. Cool.
Any good? What's an initiation? If you can tell us a little bit, what's an initiation like for the Aussie Sevens team? You singing songs or?
Oh, what do we do? Bloody hell! It's more like a little court session where it's all in closed doors and you just bloody get amongst it. Probably a couple of just drinking, like sculling comps, and nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy, mate.
No. Now on your travels,
not much we can share anyway, but yeah.
Absolutely. Now on your travels, and we'll get to the 15s game. Did you ever make it to Murrayfield? You ever play against Scotland in the sevens? You must have played against Scotland in the sevens.
Oh, sevens, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was a belter, actually. I think it was England Scotland that was the stopover there.
Okay.
We did played against them. Always big, strong buggers that bloody ready to belt the hell out of you, and that's what you want. They're good lads. Actually, played them a few times. Once, a couple of times over in George, South Africa.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah, the Scots. We always get along with the Scots and the Irish more so than the English. I don't know
why. So take us then. It was onto the Western Force, and then quite quickly to the Aussie team, to the full 15. What was that progression like? Were you a good professional rugby player? Were you good in the gym? Were you always sort of looking to progress, or how were you in the training and just as a pro in general?
Probably not your standard one. I definitely would. Everyone would sort of laugh at my drill things that I would do. I would do whatever like the fitness everyone else would do, but I also had my extras that I was told not to do. But and saying that, when you're a young bloke, you're always right and you know everything. So that helped, and I reckon it was good for my mind. If it wasn't good for my body, it was good for my mind.
What sort of extras are you doing? What were you taking on?
Oh, you got a certain load, like your load management that you exceed, and then that you're supposed to get off the field, go and do your recovery, get ready for the afternoon session. But I'd be like, yeah, in a sec, and then I'd start my bloody 3 sets of 50-meter sprints times 10, just just to I think just to get the edge. Like I said, it was either physically or it was mentally.
Yeah, all good. And then the progression to the full Wallaby squad. What was that like for you when you got the first nod? Were you surprised? Were you shocked?
Oh, mate, you know what? I was just about to bloody chuck it in. I'd done a couple of years in the Wallaby squad, just being a bloody tackle bag. I was just getting flogged every bloody session. I was that guy with the bib on that always had to be the defence or be, the body that someone bloody smashed. Anyway, we were over in Argentina, and I was thinking, right, this is my last little run at this. I might bloody bugger off because I'm sort of not. I love playing and stuff, but it's too hard being in that zone where you're not like you're there, but you're just not there where you need to be. Wallaby, if you're just one rung below it. And anyway, I thought, no, I'm going to give it everything I've got for this rest of this tour, and then if it doesn't work out, I'll part ways. But mate, it worked out that I'd done enough. I'd proven that I'd done the miles, and then all of a sudden, down in the team room, he goes, righto, backs, and he read the backs out. This is Robbie Dean, read the back line out, and when he got to over my name, he said my name at that bloody 14, and then he went over the next. And I didn't even budge. I was just like, another bloody team, another team getting selected. He didn't even know. And then everything went quiet in the room. All of a sudden, everyone's looking at me, and I went, "Hang on, what?" So I said, "So that who's 14?" And they go, "You." And I was like, I was like, "You bloody beauty!"
And
it was a great day.
And on the team sheet, are you Nick Cummins or are you the Honey Badger?
Or Strange Cat, I don't know, but either one will do. But mate, I think it's Nick Cummins, and he was in the mix, and the bastard, but he didn't look back.
What about your first meat pie? When did you get your first meat pie for the Wallabies?
The first meaty. I think it was at Twickenham. Twickenham going down the right sting. Fibber, but he flicked the seat out, hit it on the burst, down the line. Thank you, mother rabbits, in the corner. And then, tell you what, every bugger just went pretty quiet there that day. Everyone went bloody shush. I was like, you bastards are all screaming before. All 81,361 of you were screaming, and then they all went bloody quiet. And that was an excellent moment.
Yeah, silence in the crowd. You'll be good at that sometimes because you're a fan of an interception, but you're also a fan of, I know, the Babas. That time you played at Twickenham against Australia. What was that experience like playing for the Babas?
Mate, I bloody loved that. I thought it was great. I was in Japan playing at that point, and when they got the call up, I had to try and get that through with my my local team in Japan, and finally got that sorted to be able to go over there and play against those boys. And I was actually having even the wing, even the Henry Spate and all the wingers. I was the ones like we were button heads always at training, and to be able to go out there against them with a hangover and go, right, you bastards, let's go. It was just so good. I had my family there. They flew over. It was bloody unreal.
And when you scored under the posts, did any of the lads have a wee dig or come and speak to you?
No, I just started laughed at them. They just sort of look at you. They're all shagged, they're all pretty buggered. And I just come through and just give them a cheeky little smile, as if like a little tap on the bum. You're right, mate. So it was good. It was good seeing some of those blokes again, because I'd been away. Seeing Benny McCalman out there playing, bloody good bloke, tough player, and all those characters there. You've so many times you've shared the field with them in a high tense situation, and I can still see that intensity in their eyes. But for me, being in the bars with a hangover with a bunch of other blokes who have also got a hangover, great blokes. It's a special feeling to be able to come and match it with a quality team while being under the pump. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. Now, the headband was in full flow at Twickenham that day. That sort of cult following that you've gathered over the years, I mean, how did that sort of come about? Obviously, with your interviews and Head Over Biscuit and all the stuff that's happened throughout your career with the incredible after-match chats that you've put out. But as it's grown, the sort of cult following, is it something you've embraced, or did you find it quite hard to sort of get involved with at the beginning? How was it for you when you sort of saw people in the crowds dressed up like you?
Yeah, well, it started off as a thing that my old man used to do it. He was in the front row. He probably needed to. For me, it was more about just study. Yeah, I put it sometimes over my ears. Most of the time, it was to hold my hair back. One of the things people probably don't realise I did it for is because it squashes your head. And not that my head's getting too big, which some would say it is, but when it's around there quite tight, you get that sort of bit of a throb, and you get a little bit shitty, and you just want to grip in. You just want to sort of ants you up a bit, because you're in a bit of like a bit of aggression in there. So that was part of it as well. But then seeing how people in the crowd, like kids, start wearing it. There was actually a whole kids rugby team that was wearing the bloody thing, and how good's that? It's quite humbling to see that. There's also one game, there was this mob of blokes. They all had flannies on, like flannelette shirts with the mullety sort of wigs down to here with the head tape, and it was just gold.
Well, there's gold. Well, I can't remember which try it was, but there's that famous one. Is it the big intercept that you did and scored under the posts, and then you salute, then you go and shake the boy's hand, and they're all in the front row of the crowd. They're all wearing the absolutely. It's gold. It's just amazing.
Mate, it's one of those moments. Like when I went up, I scored that try. I got up, and I remember there was no thought. I was just this is the Waratahs, by the way. We love to smash the Waratahs because they always had all the fancy names on paper, and it's always good just to beat the bastards. Anyway, after school, getting up, and you're just like, yes. And there was just some kid there, because the ball, when I got up and threw the ball, it bounced over to this kid. It sort of bounced up. He caught it. And I don't know, I just looked up and I saw him with the ball, and I just walked over to him. It was kind of like a shake your hand, like congratulations, like that's yours. I don't know.
There's so many instances that I could pick as I've followed your career and been a big fan of everything you did on the pitch. But that time you were awarded a medal. I don't know where was that.
I was in Italy. It was in Italy there somewhere. I don't know what game, what field it was. I had no idea what was going on, mate. He called me over and he started saying something, and I didn't understand a word of it. He had a smile on his face, so you can kind of tell that it was a good thing. And then he flicked out this little shiny thing, and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I don't know what it's for, but I do think I deserve it. I just grabbed it.
Before we move on to everything that you're into now away from the rugby pitch, what are your highlights of your rugby career? And we've not even touched on Japan, because I'd love to know about the culture shock when you, sort of farm boy from the back end of Australia, turns up in Japan trying to order some chicken. But what are the highlights from the Wallabies?
Mate, highlights from the Wallabies would have been, it's always I think the debut, there was a moment where there was a moat that surrounded the field, and that was the game where they were like shining lasers in the eyes of the kickers and Kurtley Beale and everything. And then after that game, when we somehow held on, like it was the last play of the game kind of thing, and they were coming back to smash us. And I tackled this one bloke, and he ball popped out, and Robbie Dean said after, he's like, that saved us the game. That tackle. I was like, oh, you never know. He could have been saying that was my debut to G me up, but it was buddy that, and then Dad coming out after the game onto the field. I don't even know how he got past security. He's like a Jedi. He does this thing, and the people just go and will escort him places, even though he's not even meant to be there. But yeah, it's a strange one. But he comes out in the field, mate, and all the tinsel things are falling down. He's just standing there, just like, this is a life's bloody work. You know, this is the amount of like literal tears, and they say blood, sweat, and tears. It doesn't mean much until you've actually done that for something. You know, it is that. And all the times, you know, we're sitting there speaking to Dad and on the phone. It was also over in Perth, and you're like, you're broken down. You're like, you got a broken leg even, and you're just concerned about your career and your life, and all those moments, sort of everything you've worked for, all those recoveries, all those injuries, all those successes, and then failures, and all that led to that moment where we just look each other in the eyes, and it was just, we got there, and then just bang, big hug, and yeah, it was powerful, mate.
It's clear how important your dad and your family are to you. Obviously, the move to Japan, it was well documented that you got released from your contract. Can you tell us about that? I mean, the importance of your family to the decisions that you've made throughout your career?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, of course. Like, people say, oh, you know, you bailed too early. You know, I've still got years in you, and yeah, I do. But I choose how I use those years. You know, like for me, what's important is just having a bit of coin aside and having it ready for a rainy day, which yeah, is no doubt, you know, on its way or whatever else. So I just want to make sure that's all set up. And if you know, everyone's got their ways of doing it, and for me, I was comfortable with parting ways with the Australian rugby, especially the way it was going, especially after getting buddy busted for that island for having a couple of settlers with the boys. It was the Dublin Six got buddy thrown under the bus. That shit me off. So yeah, I was ready to bugger off from Australia at that point.
And then going to Japan, what was that culture shock like for you? Were you prepared for sort of the way of life over there?
Mate, I remember I was on the plane and we're just about to land, and we went over this. I looked out the window and I went, oh no, it was this industrial estate. It just looked like bloody, like ruins. And I went, I was like, oh no, I've really stuffed up here. But then once I got in there, it was bloody unreal. One of the best experiences I've had. The people, the areas, the beautiful countryside, mate. It was amazing, amazing country. And yeah, you learn the basics, how to tell them your name and order a feed. Outside of that, mate, you don't need to. It's all body language.
Well, I read an article, or you'd written something, I think the BBC over here in the UK printed it years ago, that you said the language barrier was quite tough, but when the chef can see the hunger in your eyes, he knows you need food. I was crying with laughter.
It's flat out true. Like, it's a universal language. It goes all over the world. If you look at, if you've seen a hungry man's eyes, you know exactly what he wants.
Oh mate, good times. So I mean, let's get into media, because your interviews are legendary. Your after-match interviews are legendary, and like going off like a cut snake and all the stuff that you come out with, and it is just the way you've grown up, and it is just dinner table chat for you. But at what point did somebody grab you and say, look, this could be a career, there's something in this for you? You know, when did it sort of become apparent to you that the way you are is very marketable, or there is a career in it after rugby?
I think it was at the start, it was just having fun, you know, that's what we would say. And then, you know, after a while you start saying a few of them, and then you think, well, hang on, after tonight's going, I'll throw in one of these beauties, or one of the boys who come with a G up and go, oh yeah, buddy, that one you say here, you should say that one. I dare you. So I'm going to try and wait for I'm going to wait for the right question to be able to input. And the boys are over the side going, and I'm just dropping in this bloody liner. Yeah, mate. I think my management, whatever else after that, sort of said, yeah, let's just start looking into some opportunities for this sort of stuff. And I was like, yeah, whatever, do whatever you want to do it. If I can assist or add value somewhere, I will. But mate, I think that the main thing for me was about getting the driver behind like continuing on in that sort of media career is to keep that vernacular alive, keep that those sayings, that rhyming slang, the descriptive, the ways to describe a situation or a place or a thing. It can be quite humorous, and I think that's what Aussies and the Brits did quite a lot, the Cockney slang. And it's so unique too, because in Australia we have a sort of slightly different circumstance with regards to climate and animals, and so it's grown in its own way, its own little twang to it. And mate, yeah, I love to keep that alive in Australia, because these young blokes today, geez, but the buggers are too worried about hair gel or something like that or a hair straightener than a flaming culture. So we've got to keep it going, mate.
Absolutely, but you're so well received across social media, and I'm still struggling to get the image of your recent post on Instagram of you dancing about in your tradie pants. I mean, mate, it's funny because you're all in, even on those adverts and the marketing and stuff. You seem to be all in, and it's all fun as often as possible.
Mate, you got to, because life is bloody. It's stressful, it's sad, and it's bloody short. So if you can have a laugh at all the rubbish, you'll actually have a lot better life. There's one bloke, he lived really long, and they said, hey, what's your secret, to your long life? And he said, well, I've had a lot of worries in my life, but I never really worried about them. Exactly.
Makes a lot of sense.
It works.
Absolutely. Now, what you're into these days, the Rogue Gentlemen's Club. You tell me a bit about that, about the adventures and all the sort of off-the-grid stuff you're doing. Yeah,
mate. So for myself, I got through footy, I got a lot of messages from blokes and women that were struggling mentally. So they'd see, like you just mentioned, then I'm not always like so crazy, like happy and all that sort of stuff. But I like to share that energy if I can with as many people as I can. And that obviously attracts people who are also in a happy state and also in a low state that want to be in a happy state. So I got a lot of messages around mental health and heard some pretty tough stories on there. And I thought, well, I need to give back, because I've got a platform where I can reach a lot of people and influence a lot of people. So why not just anything that I've learned on my way through rugby, which is little bouts of depression when you got when your career, you think it's all going here, and then all of a sudden broken leg and potentially having your contract torn up, and all of a sudden you're right down here. It can be tough to ride that roller coaster of emotions, and having a strong mindset is a result of, I think, being a professional athlete over a period of time. So that is one thing I thought I can set up with the Rogue Gentlemen's Club. And I love adventure and outdoors, so I take blokes out to the bush, up into the islands, or just basically off the grid, where blokes can get away and stop the monkey mind from rabbiting on with all the old thoughts, the old patterns, and just let that sort of calm down to a point where they can actually stop and be clear for a moment and just think, fresh air, tucker, shelter, a fire, all the things that nature has given us to give us, the maximum health we need. And so, mate, that's sort of my passion. I actually got a machete the other day. I'll just grab it. Just this. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah. So we'll be going out.
Mate, you need to be careful with that if you're sitting there without your tradies on.
So, mate, basically that thing when we go bush, it's good to have a machete sometimes to get through some of the rainforest and whatever else. But yeah, mate, so that's the gist, Rogue Gentlemen's Club. It's about finding your passion and purpose again, adding value to the world as men.
Mate, good on you. I mean, it is so important at the moment that that's going on, because mental health, we're still in lockdown over here. Things are getting reduced slowly for when we can get out and about. You keep that camera at head level, okay? But mate, try to be serious here. Oh, mate, but no, good on you for getting blokes out into the wilderness and sort of getting off social media, getting in a bit of headspace. It's a good thing you're doing. But you clearly, obviously, love that adventure, getting out and about and fishing and catching your own food. But can we dive into the SAS show? Because that's such a big show over here in the UK. And I recently had Jason Fox on for a chat, Foxy, and he was talking about...
Good lad, eh?
Great lad. He was involved in a charity event that I was hosting over here for Doddy Weir in the My Name is Doddy Foundation. So had a great chat with Foxy, and he's putting a lot of miles in for that event. But he mentioned you, and he mentioned sort of how headstrong you were, and obviously the rugby background, and there wasn't much in that show that you weren't. Well, you were 100% on everything. You were all in, up the guts, as you would say, and going for it. How did you enjoy that show and that experience?
Mate, that was awesome for me. It was quite a test, it was quite a test. I think my thing's always about hitting life with pace, and either way, you're going to win it or you're going to learn. And I think in the end, if you have that mindset over time, all the skills that you acquire by throwing yourself into uncomfortable situations, well, it's going to send you that way. You're going, in the end. So, but for me, that was another one of those. It was like, I don't know what's going on. Those boxing scenes and things, I was like, right, well, I could be coming up against anyone, any bloke, could be a pro boxer, I don't know. But that's not the point. The idea is to throw yourself in and see how you handle situations that you've never been in before. And like Foxy and that, they've got amazing weapons that is their mind. It was a massive challenge for me learning how to shift pain from the mind to the body, and then body back to the mind, and just to handle and survive. Yeah, it was a great experience. Bloody cold though.
Bloody cold. I mean, I interviewed a lady called Lou who won one of the UK shows. She got to the end and completed the whole show, and she talked about like what we see on camera is pretty intense, but she sort of elaborated on off camera and what it's like from start to finish. Is that something you can back up, that you are constantly under pressure? You're constantly cold, hungry for the whole. It's not just on camera; it's the whole show.
Yeah, mate. That's what people will never probably know fully the extent of it. Like over time, when you take away sleep, you take away food, and it's bloody cold. Like it actually gets even harder to handle the cold when you don't have those first two. But when you've got all three of those together, it doesn't matter if you watch an hour of it on TV. What about all the other hours where you're up through the middle of the night getting roasted here? Your buddy, the compounding effect on the body makes your mind just disintegrate in a lot of ways. So, but it's way harder than it in the end is what it looks on TV. I back that up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks intense, and Foxy talks about it, how they're trying to get under your skin. They're trying to sort of put you guys into such horrendous situations to make you quit. That's their job, is to try and make you quit. I have interviewed Navy SEALs and all sorts of things from guys that have completed Hell Week. And, when these guys put civilians, as they say, or celebrities through their paces, it's a whole different walk of life. Did you see some people that you were competing against? Did you prejudge anybody? Did you think they're never going to get through this? And then by the end of it, you're standing beside them, or they got through something that was a remarkable challenge for them and they completed it. Was there anyone that really surprised you at how good they did?
Yeah, there was two probably that surprised me. It was Erin McNaught. She's only a light, quite a small girl, but mate, for power to weight, like her strength to her size is incredible, and just her mindset. I mean, I think sometimes a mother has some strength. You know, that there's like that, what they've been through has given them this I don't know, this armor, this strength, these weapons to be able to handle situations because they're a mum. You know, they've been through some pretty tough stuff. And so that was Erin McNaughton and Merrick Watts. Merrick was a comedian, and you think, okay, well, there's this whole you're a comedian, you're going to be this guy who's just going to start cracking jokes and whatever else, but that's his work. You know, there's also another side to him, which is this: he is just flat out, he is serious and he's dedicated and he's disciplined, and he will just get the bloody job done. And very good for morale. At the right time, he'll drop in the right little comment, but also works bloody hard for his team, and people probably weren't expecting that from an older bloke like him.
And were you?
I think he's about 76 or something.
Were you putting in any one-liners to Ant Middleton or Foxy or the boys?
Well, there was one situation where it was during the night, during a bee sting, and they said, Ant Middleton goes, right, if you answer this next question correctly, you can go, everyone can go and get some sleep. It would have been about 1 a.m. or something like that. And he goes, number 6, it's about start. And he goes, who is the most attractive man you've ever laid eyes on? And I said, in my head, I'm like, that's a strange question, but I was like, all right. And I go, Sean Connery stuff.
The Scotsman.
Oh, but yeah, obviously it was wanting me to say him. And then bang, we had to get beasting again. So we went through another session. Everyone, all the other teammates of mine all looked at me as you idiot. What do you just say his friggin' name? I was like, nah, because I wouldn't be honest. You know? And then it happened actually twice the next day. We're doing the ice one, going under the ice, and he said, "Who's the?" We asked you a question because once you've gone under a couple of times with your head in the cold, you sort of panic a bit and you can sort of lose your cognitive abilities. And I asked him the question. He goes, "Who is the most attractive man you ever laid eyes on?" And I said, "Sean Connery stuff." And he goes, "Under." So I had to keep going down 3 times because I kept saying Sean Connery, and then, mate, I think I was about to bloody have a cardiac arrest, so I just said Ant Middleton at the end.
To get yourself out. Now, obviously, did you think the bit of backlash when you had to do the boxing with Sabrina? Did you see that coming? Were you surprised by that?
Yeah, definitely surprised at. I mean, it's a hard one. It's lose-lose. That situation there is lose-lose, right? So if you don't box her, then you're disrespecting women and you're not treating them as equals and all that sort of stuff, right? And then if you do box them, you've punched a woman.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Like what especially with this time, the way we are in this world right now, it's a strange one, mate. It's so odd. For a male in this world right now, it's pretty bloody hard to work out. So, but what I did is that I know she's an athlete. She's a professional athlete herself, and I understand that mindset. And I know I was no way in hell I was going to disrespect her by going half-assed at it. So, sort of off the start, yeah, I went, well, this is it. This is called SAS selection. It's not about if you're male and female. It's about who is the best suited for the position. Yeah. And that's how I treated it.
But it says a lot as well that she picked you.
Yeah, that's right.
She picked you. Yeah. You were to her. You were the biggest challenge in her. What would be for her the most difficult opponent. So fair play to her, and all the respect's got to go to her because she knew what she was getting herself into. And the way she came out afterwards and spoke about the whole thing was fantastic. That she backed you up, and so did all the staff from the show, all the guys in charge. And mate, I thought you did it very respectfully. You dealt with all the backlash very well. And yeah, we are in strange times, but you were on a show and you both knew what you were getting yourself into.
Mate, that's exactly right. Exactly right. And that's, I don't know how I would have handled it if it was a different woman but I just know with her and I had so much respect for her in what she does already in her life that I was happy to be part of it, because it's funny to watch the public, at the start, a lot of people are, they're sheep. They jump on the wagon and they're like, they attack. And then all of a sudden they change their mind at the end when they go, oh, it's okay now because I see why it's happening. I see what the show's about, and I understand. And then they just change their mind. But they're happy to throw cutting words there, and then they just forget. They don't apologise. They just forget their cutting words and just go, "Yeah, that was fine." Yeah, change your mind like that. But yeah, mate, you got to stick to your gun, and that's for me. I'm happy with my decision, and I went through with it. Yeah.
Good on you. And I mean, that was something SAS show takes you off the grid. You know, I take it there was no social media or anything like that. But your new show, or the show that I think you're pushing out second season now, is it Off the Grid with the Badger?
Mate, it is. Yep.
Yeah, second season. How's that going? Because there's obviously a theme that you like to sort of get out into the wilderness, that you kind of maybe city life maybe isn't for you. That new season and that show, how was it received when you put out the first season and now you're on to season 2? How's it all going?
Mate, it went really well, actually. I think people, because we have a healthy mix of, well, the first one was more of an observational sort of documentary. It was actually, we were out there doing our best, trying to get our tucker and find the place to sleep and dealing with the elements, the heat, the humidity up there in Northern Australia can be quite intense. And people saw that. And if you throw a bit of, a bit of fun in there, a bit of humour, it actually was pretty well received. And the main thing is about getting people to get outside and go. It's healthy, you got to get out in nature and learn a few skills where you can then take your misso, take your family members, take your friends, and you can go and have an absolute, you can make some amazing memories that you'll remember them forever. In the city, going out for a night out on the stoop, you won't remember that. That's just, and it makes you feel terrible the next day, but a memory where you were stuck out there, it was bloody hot, and you caught a fish, and you cooked it on the fire, that lasts with you,
Yeah, well, the difficult situations, a lot of the difficult situations you get into, the memorable ones, the days that are planned, or the excursions that are set in stone. We've got to be here at that time. We're going to then fish. Then we're going to get in the paddleboard, or we're going to do that. Then it's all planned. It's when that all goes to pot, the adventure starts, and it's that day, because you had to go right instead of left, is what becomes memorable, isn't it?
Absolutely, mate. Only when you're lost do you truly find yourself, and I think out there is a good place to start. As long as there's no crocs around, because it's true that they'll bust you. But yeah, mate, like the networks, like the free-to-air networks, picked it up, Channel 7 and all those mobs. So it's going pretty well. And I reckon, the next one will be a whole new part of Australia, a whole new environment, a whole new set of challenges, a whole new set of funnies. And yeah, mate, buddy, looking forward to it.
You mentioned crocs there. What else have you come across? Any snakes, spiders? You must be up against some sort of wild from wilderness every now and again. Yeah,
mate. Sometimes we're sitting there, buddy, having the fire, cooking a fish, and you look up and there's a snake crawl on the tree next to you. And, it is poisonous, but it's not going to hurt you that much. You'll get over it pretty quick. So we grabbed it and had a look at it and relocated it and just talk about that on the way. Yeah, buffaloes, there's crocs, there's what else is there? Mate, there's everything up there. It's the best, pigs, and yeah. Actually, there's a couple of freshwater crocodiles that were just dead lying on the bank, and they had a swollen guts, and that was because of those cane toads. They busted a couple of cane toads, and end up bloody brown bread. That would have ruined your whole day, wouldn't it? You thought you were getting a feed, and then it ended up killing you.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to go. I enjoyed your the way you dealt with social media comments when you filmed the buffalo getting caught with that arm that came off the front of the Jeep. Because the buffalo, the buffalo are terrorizing the farms, and the buffalo need dealt with. And a lot of you got a bit of negative feedback on that one, and you're straight in with, well, this is my page, go away. You were you. You were you, and I really liked that, and I appreciated it. And there isn't enough of that out there just now. You just sort of backed up. You said they hadn't read why the farmers were getting rid of the buffalo. They hadn't seen. They just looked at the image and reacted. And the way you just sliced through it and politely dealt with them, I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. You're on a path, and you seem to stick to your guns. And you've said that throughout the show, that you got to stand up for yourself. So I commend you for that, and the way you respond to social media and everything you do. Nick, I'm not going to keep you much longer. It's been awesome to have you on. As I say, it's been a while in coming for me, because this podcast show and what I'm building here with the Get After It show and everything I do here in Scotland it's been a journey for me. You know, it's been a real journey. I've interviewed a few of your mates. Horwell's been on. Michael Lina's been on, the legend. So I've been through quite a few Aussie rugby players, to guys like Nims Purja, who the famous mountaineer adventurer and things like that. So, mate, to get you on the show, it's awesome for me. What does the future hold for you? You've obviously got exciting things on the horizon with Off the Grid and things, but is there anything you'd love to accomplish, or any bucket list things out there for the Honey Badger?
Mate, I've got a few adventures. If this world fixes itself back up again, I want to do Antarctica. I want to do all those sorts of things before I end up having kids, whatever else. So, but yeah, I think I want more to Mongolia, Antarctica, and then I want to really get going this Road Gentlemen thing and just help as many blokes as I can through the challenges that they're currently facing in this strange world. This COVID's really caused a bit of drama and taken a lot of lives when it comes to that mental health side of things. So, yeah, mate, that's kind of a bit of a focus for me. But yeah, I'm bloody stoked to look forward to the future. And mate, yeah, congratulations on your successes there. There's some that's good stuff. They're good people, good yarns, and but that's what you're doing here is you're giving people that are out there that are watching this, they can see the conversation. There's these bits of gold in every one of those conversations that they can relate to their lives, and it adds to them and it gives them a new perspective and gives them a bit of knowledge as well. So, hey, good on you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate that. One thing I want to finish on is the good energy you put out. Is I've seen you surfing on a sledge behind a reindeer. Yeah, now I've been to Lapland. Was that in Lapland? Where did you do that? That awesome photo, or was it a video? But you sledging, getting pulled by a reindeer was incredible. That was amazing.
Mate, it's a classic thing, you know. It's like, well, there's a reindeer on a sledge. What could you do? What's the funnest thing you could do? I was like, let's surf the bloody thing. It didn't end very well. But
you were the reindeer.
For both of us. I think he had the last laugh, but that was up in Norway.
Okay.
Lapland up there. Yeah. So.
Yeah, amazing. Now, as an Aussie in the heat that you've got every day, you're okay with the cold?
Oh, yeah. If I've got tucker in me guts, then I'm good to go. But if you don't, mate, I'm bloody shaking like a who was it that time? Like a piston dog or something with a Billy from the SAS show. Oh, they were up me for the rent there because I couldn't handle the cold. But, no, mate, I love it. If it's an adventure, I can handle it. Let's do it.
Good man. Well, Nick, I really appreciate it. Fantastic to have you on. Keep going with all the bits and pieces you're putting out. You're sponsored by anyone who's listening to this on audio. Nick is sponsored by Tradies, an underwear company, and he's sitting there when they undies on. He's some man. There they are. He's on brand, but put them on, mate. You need to wear them.
No. Yeah, they were on, but it's it's nearly 7 o'clock here, and I don't wear them past 7. Yeah, mate. So, yeah.
Fair enough, mate. Thank you very much. All the best, Nick.
Good on you guys. Thank you. Enjoy.